I'm Dr. Barone. I'm here with Pat Kinsfather, and we just gave her first adjustment. Okay, we gave her her first adjustment. We're going to get into a little bit about her symptomatic changes in a moment. But if we look here, this is her pre-nasium x-ray. And what we can see here is the relationship between her skull and her atlas is off 3 degrees, and her neck is off 6 degrees, meaning the relationship between her atlas and the lower neck. This is her vertex film, and this looks at how the vertebra is actually twisted. Now, we see a 1.5 degree twist there. If we go to the post-nasium, we can see that the relationship between the skull and the center of the atlas is now a 90 degrees orthogonal position. That's perfect. And we could see she's down to 1 degree on her lower neck from a 6 degree lower angle. And in particular, you'll take a notice at this line. That's called the atlas plane line, and you can see how horizontal it is here compared to here. Go ahead and take a look. You can see the line here. And if we look here, you can see it's very slanted. And also, this dotted line shows you where her structures should be, and the solid lines show you where they are. If you look here, the dotted line and the solid lines are superimposable. And that's because her spine, her head and neck are now on the vertical axis. Her head and neck are now on the vertical axis, which immediately de-stresses the rest of her body. So we're going to talk with Pat now. We're going to go in the other room and we're going to talk a little bit about what she noticed immediately after the adjustment. Here with Pat Kinsfather and David Milkey, and Pat just came in for her first adjustment. Now Pat has been suffering with neck stiffness and tension for 33 years, mid-back pain for years, constipation years, low back pain for years, pain into both her hips and thighs, loss of sleep, fatigue. Now she just had her first adjustment. We gave her a very gentle correction at the top of the neck that she couldn't even feel. So this was a very new experience for Pat. And her left leg was short by 3/4 of an inch, which is very significant. And post-adjustment, immediately after the adjustment, her legs came even. I just showed you the x-ray changes, and now we're going to talk about what Pat felt immediately off the table. So Pat, share a little bit about what you said when you first came off of the adjusting table.
Well, I couldn't believe how well I felt. I felt very light through the neck area, shoulder area. A pain I'd been having in my lower right hip had diminished, and I was absolutely thrilled with it.
Yeah, and she also mentioned that her pain was a 10 out of 10 on the pain scale.
Oh, yes.
And so for her, for that pain, that's very significant. Immediately off of the table, she felt a significant reduction into that pain. And what would you say you would rate the pain when you got off of that table? 0
Oh
to
my
10?
goodness, it's probably a 1. Maybe
A 1.
1.
So that's huge. 10 out of 10 to 1 out of 10. All we did was give her a gentle correction at the top of the neck, realigning the first vertebra, but when we brought her spine back on the vertical axis, it leveled out her hips, leveled out the legs, and that's what took the pressure off of the discs in the nervous system. And we've got David Milkey here. He witnessed this whole thing.
Yes.
Now, David is not a patient yet, but probably will be soon, because we did a scan on him and we found some things we didn't like. But David, if you recognize him, he's a former NASCAR driver, and he is he actually raced the last, for those of you NASCAR fans out there, he raced the last Daytona race, Daytona 500, on the beach in Daytona. And he raced some people like Mark Martin, Richard Petty, some of the names that you may have heard of. And what was your experience, David, when you saw this adjustment, what it looked like from your perspective?
Well, I'll tell you, I couldn't believe it because Pat was in bad shape when she came in here. And now, the difference, like she said, from 10 bad to 1 good. And that's unbelievable for one visit.
Yeah. Were you surprised at how gentle the procedure was when you were watching it?
Yes, I couldn't believe it. It's better than I've seen with other kind of people doing the same thing, more or less.
Yeah. And were you surprised by the gentleness?
Oh, very much so. I have to say, this is the first time I've got a smile on my face in 10 days.
Yeah. Well, we want a lot more of those smiles. So anyway, you're at Barone Spinal Care and Performance, and stay tuned for more really neat testimonials.